The president is extending his timeline for Iran to make a deal from 10 to 15 days. That still puts it in line with the 2-week time frame that Iran had given to address the gaps after the second round of indirect talks with the U.S. earlier this week.
What is the goal if there is a U.S. military strike?
Well, we're either make a deal or we're going to get a deal one way or the other.
But with a military strike, is it to wipe out their nuclear program?
I'm not going to talk to you about that, but we're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
And you said today 10 days. Have you given them a deadline firm to make a deal?
I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
The talks focus largely on Iran's nuclear program, but the U.S. also wants Iran to give up its long-range ballistic missiles. And Iranian officials maintain their ballistic missile program is not up for negotiation. The Wall Street Journal now reporting the president is weighing a limited strike to pressure Iran to make concessions. The outlet reports, per People Familiar, the opening assault, which, if authorized, could come within days, would target a few military or government sites. People familiar with the matter said. If Iran still refused to comply with Trump's directive to end its nuclear enrichment, the U.S. would respond with a broad campaign against regime facilities, potentially aimed at toppling the Tehran regime. Russia is urging restraint. A spokesperson for the Kremlin says Russia continues to develop relations with Iran, and in doing so, we call on our Iranian friends and all parties in the region to exercise restraint and caution, and we urge them to prioritize political and diplomatic means in resolving any problems. Remember, though, back in June, the president gave a 2-week timeline for Iran to make a deal. Hours later, he gave the green light for Operation Midnight Hammer. And Todd.
That is a very good reminder. Madeline Rivera live for us in Washington. Maddie, thank you. Let's bring in national security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant. Dr. Grant, thank you so much for joining us. So one thing the president is doing right now is being very transparent and laying out step by step what is going to happen. You know, we're going to use military action if you do not make a deal, and the timeline is about 10 days from now. That's what he's saying publicly. But, you know, it feels like the Iranian regime is showing no signs of budging or even taking the president seriously. So where does that leave us? What happens next?
10 days, 15 days. We are in the countdown phase for potential strikes on Iran. Carly, we know these targets were briefed back in January. And let me be clear, this is not boots on the ground. This is most likely Iran getting its missile production sites bombed unless they agree to talk. They've said missiles are off the table, but no way will President Trump accept that. And you can see from the amount of forces we have over there, I mean, at least 7 destroyers for missile defense, an aircraft carrier, another on the way. Everything is in place for these strikes. It is time for Iran to make a deal and let those UN inspectors in as a start.
Let's focus on the timeline for a moment and pick up where Maddie left off. Do you expect a potential attack to possibly be sooner than this 10 to 15-day window in an effort to somewhat catch the Iranians by surprise and to not completely show our cards?
Well, that attack could come at any moment as far as the force posture is concerned, because, again, targets pre-briefed already. And remember, you know, this is not a big new war. It's not a long campaign. President Trump uses military force for very specific objectives. And so I'm sure U.S. Central Command, U.S. Space Force, everybody else helping out is ready to execute now. And that's the pressure that's on Iran. Yeah, it could come at any moment.
Yeah, and you know, Todd, that's a good point. I was thinking yesterday, what if it happens during the State of the Union address next week? Because, you know, the American people want the president to focus on domestic policy, which of course he will be during that address. And this could be going on in the background. Wow. So only time will, of course, tell on that front. But Rebecca, I thought this was an interesting line from the Wall Street Journal reporting that Maddie read, just echoing it. If Iran still refuses to comply with Trump's directive to end its nuclear enrichment, the U.S. will respond with a broad campaign against regime facilities, potentially aimed at toppling the Tehran regime, because there has been a question about how the use of military action would lead to regime change when the Ayatollah lives in a bunker. He still has his loyalists in the IRGC. So touch on that for us and how regime change could actually happen with U.S. military involvement.
Well, it would take a lot of pressure on the right points, and it's possible that there are leadership and certainly IRGC targets on that list. But I got to say, President Trump has been very clear that objective one is to get that nuclear deal really lined up. So I think military targets are top priority. It would be so great to see that regime gone. But no question, he's going to be working the missile, nuclear, maybe space launch targets at its top priority.
Staying in the region, President Trump announcing that the United States will be contributing $10 billion to the Board of Peace, but also giving a stark comparison. Listen.
The United States is going to make a contribution of $10 billion to the Board of Peace. When you look at that compared to the cost of war, that's 2 weeks of fighting. It's a very small number. It sounds like a lot, but it's a very small number.
Putting all of this together, Dr. Grant, does the regime change that Carly mentioned need to happen in Iran for Donald Trump's plan for Gaza, the Board of Peace plan for Gaza, to ultimately take shape?
Well, President Trump says that even Midnight Hammer helped that out. And I loved that Board of Peace meeting yesterday. This is the path forward for Gaza. Don't forget, a specific UN resolution has chartered that Board of Peace to go ahead. FIFA will build soccer fields. Countries are donating. It's a great pushback against China and Russia's diplomatic influence, too. So this is the way ahead for Gaza, and only President Trump could have thought this up and pulled it off. It's looking good.
Yeah, it certainly is a unique thing that you never see from presidents in the past, but it is happening internationally at this very moment. Dr. Grant, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.